Hello again, and welcome. It's a lovely day here in Fredericton, though a bit breezy, and I hope to get out for a walk later on. There are some days when what I have to do makes me kind of, oh dear, I wish I didn't have to do it. And there are other days where the challenge is you got to think something through. And today falls into the latter category. Have to think something through. So I'm going to think aloud today. So I do beg your pardon if you find this a little, shall we say, boring. In 2 weeks or so, we will be celebrating Pentecost. In many ways, it's the lost great festival of the church's year. We generally don't send Pentecost cards or give gifts. It can often pass by almost unnoticed. Yet in some senses, it's the birthday of the church. In Acts 1:8, Jesus told the disciples to wait for the power from on high to come upon them, in order that they could proclaim the good news in Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Then in Acts chapter 2, the Holy Spirit came upon the apostles, and the good news began to be spread. As our minds turn towards gathering together as churches, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's likely to happen around the time of Pentecost. When the events of Acts 2 happened, the Spirit empowered the very early church to move in new directions. If we follow the story through Acts, we find that the gospel message was spread to many different groups of people. The Jews were first, but there were also the Samaritans, and on to all the Gentiles. It's easy to think that all of this unfolded seamlessly, and the disciples just saw the whole plan and went for it. That's definitely not the case. As we read, we see that many had serious misgivings about taking the gospel to the Gentiles. Others were concerned that if Gentiles were allowed into the church, then they would have to obey the rules about food and also circumcision. If we look beyond Acts into the letters of Paul and others, we find great differences of opinion about how things should be. Despite the people involved, the Spirit moved things forward. But there had to be a willingness on the disciples' part to be led. When the Spirit inspired the people of the church in Syrian Antioch to send Barnabas to get Saul, who we better know as Paul, to travel with him to proclaim the gospel to the Gentiles, Paul, the self-proclaimed Pharisee of the Pharisees, had to be willing to go. As we approach the festival of Pentecost, it may be that the Spirit has new direction for us. Perhaps we're being asked to go into new territory and to do different things alongside the familiar. During these next days, my prayer will be to ask God the Holy Spirit to give me the confidence and vision to go from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. Come, Holy Spirit, and renew the face of your church, and through it, the face of the earth. Thank you again for being here. Don't forget that there is a litany tonight at 6 o'clock, and I trust that all is well with you. God bless, and stay safe.